Let's update the firmware on a Godox X1T transmitter today in the studio. Hello there, my name is Alex Silva. If you're new to this channel, consider subscribing in order for you to learn more about photography in general and flash photography in particular. Talking about flashes, today I'd like to show you how to update the firmware on this transmitter from Godox, which is the X1T. In general terms, we're going to explain why we want to do this, the whole process in terms of preparation, the actual update, and how to test it. Of course, you can jump to any section in particular using the chapter markers in the description below. So why do we want to update this? Well, you may have very different reasons, but in my particular case, I want to use the ID feature, which is not available in my current firmware. Of course, you may also need to update in order for the transmitter to work with new camera models. It's not my case, but I do remember that some Canon cameras required updated firmware versions in the transmitters. In any case, how do we do this? Well, first let's prepare. In order for us to update, we're going to connect the transmitter to the computer using a micro USB cable. In my case, as I have mentioned in a previous video, I'm using a Sony cable that has worked perfectly for me. Of course, you can also use any other cable that came with your smartphone. Those usually work fine. If not, I'm going to link to a cable that I also got from Amazon that has worked very well. Right after a cable, what else do we need? We need to download the installer software and the firmware. So we're going to use a software for us to update this transmitter. Please notice this is a Flashpoint R2 transmitter for Fujifilm, but it's the exact same thing, same hardware as the Godox X1T transmitter for Fujifilm. It's only been rebranded by Adorama, but the hardware is exactly the same. So you can use the software from either Godox or Adorama. I'm going to use Adorama's software, but it should be the exact same process. So we're going to get to the Adorama page, but of course I'm going to link both Adorama and Godox pages in the description below, so you know where to find the software. In my case, we're going to use the R2 remotes, and it tells me that Fujifilm uses the F2 installer. So let's get the F2, and I already downloaded. Sorry. So the software. This is the Flashpoint F2.exe. In order for us to install it, we're going to right-click on it and choose the option that says Run as Administrator. Please do not double-click, just double-click on the installer. Make sure that you run it as an administrator in order for you to update the software. Sorry, in order for you to install the software. So it's very likely that at some point, well, we only need to agree to the terms and press next. And at some point it may ask us to install some drivers. Let's see. There we go. We need to install the drivers. Perfect. We need to finish. And that's it. We installed the installer. We have the cable and of course the transmitter. Of course, we also need to check what is the current version in our transmitter. In order for us to check the version in the transmitter, we only need, well, of course, we need to place some batteries on it. We press the mode button and then we turn the transmitter on and it says version 2. Okay, So we're ready to start. How do we do the actual update? It's super simple. First, we're going to start the installer. We're going to look for the software Flashpoint F2. We're not going to just start it. We're going to run it as administrator. This is super important. We need to run it as administrator. We click on this option. Of course, we grant it administrator permissions. And we're going to make sure that the transmitter is off. We're going to remove the batteries and then uncover the USB port and connect to it. All right, as soon as we connect it, we see that it already identified the device. We're going to select the files, which is the Godox firmware updates, the actual firmware for the R2 transmitter. We open the file correctly loaded, then we upgrade. It's erasing there we go, downloading. All right, this is a bit unusual for me, but I guess it's downloading some other piece of software. We wait patiently. It keeps downloading. It's almost done. And it seems to be done. Verify successful. So we're going to quit. And the process seems to have ended. How do we test it? It's super simple. We're going to disconnect the transmitter from the USB port. We're going to place some batteries on it. And then we press the mode button, turn it on, and it says version 5. Of course, there are a few options that we need to test, but everything seems to be working correctly. And as you can see, we reviewed why sometimes we need to update the firmware. We prepared everything. We updated the firmware on the X1T transmitter, and then we checked. I really hope you found this video interesting, informative, but also entertaining. If that is the case, please press the like button. You can also subscribe to the channel and share this video with your friends. But most of all, please remember to stay safe, keep learning, and keep creating. And I'll see you in the next video.